In the last 5 years, we've generated well over $100 million in info and coaching sales, and we've done so while maintaining a 42x ROAS. Now, before you call me crazy on this, the crazier part is that we did it without spending a shit ton of money or using some unique Facebook ad strategy. We didn't actually write or create or utilize a single VSL, and we didn't do it by just brainlessly promoting webinars over and over again. We actually did it from Instagram content and a very unique, probably never really spoken about marketing strategy. And so in today's video, I'm gonna pull back the curtain on exactly how we've been able to do that using what we call Instagram shoutouts. If you don't know me already, my name is Jeremy Moser. I'm the co-founder of Social Profit Media. We're an Instagram marketing agency. We've worked with some of the biggest info and coaching personal brands in the space, helping them implement this exact same strategy. So what I want to show you before we dive right into is just kind of give you a quick rundown, okay? So as you can see, one of our months for our clients, which is, around 8 clients that we work with and do this for right now, we've generated well over $2 million in sales, which is 20,000 leads, 1,800 sales calls booked, and maintaining a 41x ROAS. On top of that, as you can see, over a 6-month time horizon, we generated 10 million in sales, 136,000 new leads at extremely cheap costs. The traditional problem that I see with most sales funnels is a few things, right? Initially, it takes a ton of time and, a good amount of money to figure out how it works, right? If you run a VSL funnel, you run a webinar funnel, it's going to take you a few months or, 1 or 2 months to figure out how do you actually convert people? Do you attract the right people? Do you convert them properly? And it's this whole process that, quite frankly, if you want to get any sizable data, it's going to be costly. And then once you figure it out, it's going to be amazing and you're really able to scale up and put a ton of money behind it if you figure it out. But the problem becomes that very quickly your margins and your scale actually shrink. A lot of the big brands that run at a big scale, they are able to get there, but it's like a 3x ROAS, right? It's like low returns, and if something breaks, those returns shrink quickly, can lead you either break even or even lose money. And again, to figure this thing out at a high scale, which we have a few clients that actually did that with the paid ad side, it is incredibly difficult. However, when you look at what I'm about to run you through, we're maintaining a 42x ROAS with extremely little to no risk on the financial side. But once you crack it, it gives you exponential growth. Let me get into what this actually means. So what I want to talk to you about is Instagram shoutouts, okay? Instagram shoutouts is a really random term, but it's really a new form of influencer marketing, okay? So basically, you see pages like this, called Mindset Therapy. They're like faceless promoters. They're like these micro influencers, like theme pages. They have like 11 million followers, right? But they're faceless. And they're really having a hard time making money. But what they can do is they can make money by selling promotion slots. Just like Kim Kardashian, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these big influencers make money promoting big brands, like State Farm or stuff like that. They make their money promoting personal brands like ourselves. So here you can see the good example of an Instagram shoutout. So you can obviously see this creator has made a post talking about millionaire couple reveals why they don't own a car or a home. And then here the caption says, this person has done X, Y, and Z. You should go and follow her to learn how she does whatever, right? And so really the genius way this works because it's underpriced attention, okay? So essentially with shoutouts, you buy into someone else's audience where they already have goodwill, right? This page, Mindset Therapy, they have 11 million followers. And quite frankly, they've built a good amount of goodwill by posting valuable or interesting content with their audience, which means if they sort of vouch for or promote someone else, the likelihood of their audience, one, thinking it's relevant to them, but also two, having the curiosity to go check that person out and follow them is extremely high. And so you really can go and get massive traffic towards your page by leveraging shoutouts properly. Second thing is, if you do play the cards right, you can acquire leads, followers for pennies on the dollar, right? With Facebook ads, your cost per, 1,000 impressions can get really high really quick. And then the conversion rates are shit. The followers can be hit or miss. With this, if your content piece is dialed in, if you have somewhat of an idea of what you're doing, you can get highly qualified followers for literally 50 cents. Back when we very first started this in 2021, we used to get followers for 5-10 cents. Still possible in today's economy, a bit more difficult, but still super lucrative because the metrics, which I'll walk through in the end, are so much more scalable and so much more profitable, right? To get to $300, $500, or even $1 million a month. Now, disclaimer, just because you're on shoutouts doesn't mean you're going to scale, right? There's a bunch of nuances into this, but it's a great vehicle to, boost your organic presence, scale your personal brand, and get a shit ton of sales in for pennies on the dollar. So with that said, I want to show you sort of the nit and gritty behind this, okay? Because now you just know how they look like, and I want to show you how they work. So how do Instagram shoutouts work? At the core of this is content, right? And I really want to highlight this because most people think, oh, I just run shoutouts. Why am I not making more money? Well, Well, shoutouts at the core of everything, they're just an amplification of what's working organically. If your organic content is pretty shit, you just amplify shit, which means more stinking, okay? So at the core of it is organic content. If you post good content, you understand how to post organic content that gets traction, you have sort of like this opportunity to really make a shit ton of money through amplification. You know, think of it this way. When you run a Facebook ad, you understand for every dollar that you spend, you get $5 out. You then obviously spend the house in it, right? Vice versa, if I understand that, hey, this organic piece of content, you know, for every 10,000 views that it gets, right, it gets 100 leads. And of those 100 leads, we, you know, close this much money. If I understand that, just to run some quick math, if, you know, 10K views, you know, gets me, you know, 100 leads, and I understand like every 100 leads, every lead I make $80 from. So, you know, this one is pretty much going to go and make you like $8,000. So you want to understand that like every 10,000 views are going to make you $8,000 right? Therefore, you understand if I can get like 100,000 views on a post like that, I'm going to make $80,000. So it's about how can you maximize the impact of an organic piece of content. And so here's exactly how we do that, right? Once we identify that, oh, this organic piece of content does extremely well, right? We then obviously pay these, you know, shout outs, theme pages, influencers to essentially like promote us. So that could be in the form of, hey, collab with me on the post, which means their reach goes onto yours. Or, hey, let's actually like take my post and repost it on your page and promote my page, which is really the definition of a shout out. From there, what happens is because people get exposed to your stuff, you get a bunch of new followers, right? So you get a bunch of new followers, people following you, which does, number one, it gives an organic boost to your content organically, right? Well, they get exposed to more content of yourself, which then obviously can, you know, help your content go viral and get you more followers. So that's a one ecosystem boost. Number two, what it does is it actually gets people to, you know, react and send you an inbound DM or watch your content and on your organic content respond to a call to action and become an inbound DM. From there, because now again, if we understand from every 100 followers, one DMs us and we acquire, you know, a follower for 10 cents, we understand for, you know, what our cost per lead is effectively. But those are warm leads. So from there, once they go into the DMs, right, a DM setter will talk to them, which different conversation, books them onto a sales call, you know, and then from there, we bow and turn them into a high ticket sales. That is really sort of how this works, okay? And so at a whole, it's really an amplification because before we even run shout outs, right, before we ever consider running it, we really, you know, kind of work with people on looking like, hey, does this organic content to new followers, to inbound DMs, if this is working, then you have amplification. Most people make the mistake that they think this here is the holy grail and this doesn't matter, when in reality, like this here, like the shout outs are useless without the organic content piece, okay? The reason I'm so sold on the shout out thing is not only because, you know, we've taken 20 plus info brands to 200K per month off of shout outs, right? 12 of them plus 500K and, you know, 5 clients plus $1 month off of shout outs alone. It's because of really like sort of the inner workings, okay? So let me explain that to you. I kind of consider, you know, paid ads to be direct response and shout outs to be more brand response. And I truly believe in 2026 and beyond, brand response is going to be the shit, right? So basically, you know, you're about to go and witness my MBA type education that I received is essentially like, there's a thing called push and pull marketing, right? Push marketing is when you shove something down someone's throat, and pull marketing is when somebody actually becomes attracted to you, right? It's attraction versus promotion-based marketing. With direct response, you really need to shove ads down someone's throat until they're like, all right, cool, let me learn more about this. Whereas with like brand response, they're like, oh, I really like this, I want to learn more, right? One is like intrigue versus like almost like a bit like forcing yourself onto people, you know, in a marketing way, of course. And so realistically, like what happens is here, when you do direct response stuff, and that's what you base your marketing on, you have to convince people first that you're not a scammer, which again, that is just not an advantageous position to be in because you have to first overcome negative stigma. Whereas here, we kind of call it the Trojan horse, right? You know, they're like, oh my God, this content piece looks awesome. This person really seems to have a lot of value to give. And so they're like, wow, they're interested in learning more. Whereas reality, the content is just like a facade where the DM setters, the VSL, or even webinar are just waiting to sell the shit out of you, you know? And so it's just awesome because people convince themselves that you have something worth having. Whereas on the direct response side, you have to convince them, right? So it's a very different flow. And the second thing is, again, as I mentioned, organic amplification. You have shit content, you put gasoline on it, you turn to like Man United or the Browns, you know, which they stink. But on the flip side, if you're like an absolute like diamond, you create great organic piece of content and then you amplify it, you turn to these guys, which means you make a fuck ton of money, okay? So basically, let's run through the exact funnel because I want to show you guys sort of the funnel and then go into the intricacies, right? Besides obviously just thinking it's a holy grail, most people look at organic, which is really an organic type funnel, the wrong way. They think that organic is a thing where like, if I just pepper, you know, I pepper content, I make money. Whereas it works the exact same as a direct response funnel, right? You need to attract people, which is like sort of attention, driving some attention, attention, getting people to be interested in you. From there, you're really gonna nurture them, you know, educate them, like warm them up to you as a person and really sell themselves onto you. And then from there, it's obviously lead generation and conversion. Now, I want to dive deeper into each layer of this, okay? From an attention perspective as to how do we reach new people, how do we actually generate attention? There's two ways. One could just be organic content. So that could be like reels, which are like little videos, or threads, aka like carousels. Those are the foundation. If we realize they generate attention, they potentially even generate leads, we're like, cool, let's amplify this shit. We amplify them through like shoutouts, collab posts, or like content boosts. But for now, I want to keep your focus on the shoutouts side because they're most lucrative, right? So the second thing is once they kind of follow us, right? This is kind of like this chain. This is how the algorithm kind of works. So, you know, really when you look at it as a micro funnel, first, they're just like aware, you know, so like, oh, they engage with a piece of content. They're like, cool, this person engages with us now. Then they basically become like a follower. It's like, oh, cool, this person now follows you. Let's show more content. Then they become like what I call an engaged follower, which is like they watch your content frequently. They actually consume certain percentage of your posts. They engage with it. They might like, they even save it. And then at that point, they become a fan. So essentially, like at first you see a content piece, you engage, you see more content. When you see more content piece, you start to see story content. Whenever you start to see story content, that's when they consider you a fan because obviously that's really engaged. And then here at this point, you respond to a DM or you respond to a call to action, you turn into a lead. So you got to understand that sort of like thing. So at this point, when we have followers, right, we want to nurture the audience a bit better. And so when we were trying to nurture the audience, what we want to do is we want to do two things. Number one, we want to do organic content. So that's like carousels, aka threads, you know, reels that are more like tactical based, right? Some like picture dumps, tweets, and stories. And then on top of that, what we want to do is on that content, we want to give away like lead magnets, right? I call them sales assets. Because what it does is like they want to have a free asset, a free guide, whatever it might be. And they go into the DMs. And inside of the DMs, they get all of these things. And at that point, when they're in the DMs, we actually have a chance to generate leads, right? Which is obviously what we're doing here. We use the lead magnets, which we had here, right? To essentially go and like get people into DMs, get them actually express interest, or we use more like direct response, like, hey, DM me to get help with, or DM me to get started type CTAs to get them into the DMs. And I really want to highlight like the one piece here is like the organic content, which is like the foundation that we amplify using Instagram shoutouts. The second component that's super crucial here is the DMs. This is not your typical, hey, let me just ask 3 questions or like do like some SDR type shit that most people promote. It's like actually like a whole different lever that I might have to make a video on to really get people from where they are now to where they want to go, right? And like really kind of create that like gap and create that pain where they're like, I'm sold on you as the creator. I'm sold on you and I know you can help me. It's just a much stronger frame. But anyways, want to get them into the DMs. And what we do there is fairly simple. We disqualify, we nurture them so they're actually a bit more aware and more sold. As I just mentioned, we actually create interest. I want to have intent. I don't care about people who hop on, they're like, I saw content, I want money. Like, I don't want those type of deals. I want the type of leads that show up and they're like, hey, I've consumed your stuff. I actually understand how XYZ would help me and I want to do this. And I'm really sold that you or like the person you work for can actually help me achieve that goal. That's the type of shit that I want in my leads. And obviously from there, we pitch them a call. Very important. We don't just pitch it as a call like, oh, your free roadmap, oh, your free game strategy. We make it fucking clear that this is a sales call. You're going to get on there and we're going to see if you're a fit for our coaching program. Because again, I don't want our sales reps bitching of like, oh, the person wasn't aware, none of that stuff. When they show up, right, our closers on our client deals, when they show up and they understand I have a DM lead, if they give me any, oh, the lead wasn't warm, whatever, we check with the seller. And if not, we hammer the fuck out of the closers because they should be aware that this is a pristine lead. Again, we sometimes use webinars as well in the DMs, but realistically, like webinars are worse than DMs. DM leads are better than webinar leads. Fight anyone who's trying to tell me otherwise, but it's just a pure gut fact. And then from there, we obviously convert. Right? Now, to kind of zoom out, I want to dive into some of the other elements here, right? Because the biggest thing you might ask yourself is like, what do we do content-wise? So let me tell you what we do content-wise, okay? So there's a few different styles you can post and you know, some of these are clients, some of these are past clients. I just want to walk you through it. Some of it are tweets, right? Just like these simple little pieces of advice, great middle of funnel content that just kind of work. Threads / carousels, they're awesome for like either ad creative, some shout outs, right? Or just to really like drive home a story or like more elaborate point. Very great tactically, generates A+ leads. You know, you can do the same thing, but with pictures and just copy over it, works well. And then on the reel side, which is really the traffic generator, right? You have like talking head reels, which are like this from, you know, a gentleman called Rob, and then some B-roll type reels where you just have multiple slides, you know, and it's kind of like B-roll music and copy over it. Fairly simple. The way we roll it is super clear, is on a frequency basis, as of right now, we want to have one thread or one carousel a week. Ideally, we do 2. We do 1 tweet, and then we do 4 reels, okay? And for me, the way I like to look at things is I like to look at what do we need most. I know we always need more leads, but in a realistic scenario, do we need more leads? Do we need more nurtured leads? Or, do we just need more like reach, more followers? Based on that, I say, okay, cool, content will be more top of funnel heavy, aka we just need more followers, right? Or, oh, we need more like leads or more qualified leads, so we do middle of funnel. And if we have like, we get a lot of reach, we get very qualified leads, but the quantity is just lacking, then we just spam CTAs. So that's on the feed side, right? Obviously, I know I made this discourse on like how important stories are. Story side, honestly, is pretty damn simple. We just like to do Q&A, and then besides Q&A, what we do is we do like value sequences, just like tactical tutorial, that type of stuff. Then some direct response stuff, like we call them 2-step posts, right? Storytelling. So like we talk about either if I, for example, have a really funny story to tell, I'm going to go and tell the story that I just walked through, or the actual origin story, or I just document a life, which is like a little vlog, right? A video blog. And so that's really what we try to do on a content set. There's obviously a lot more intricacies and like a lot more like psychology-based stuff that we do, but on a rough framework, this is what we post. From there, we then obviously look like, oh, this didn't perform, oh, this didn't perform, but this did really well, and this posted really well, right? So then we basically have like, 2 posts here that would be potential use for shoutouts, right? So again, I'm not going to bore you with like the ROIs, but realistically, like what do you have to understand? The reason about shoutouts, the way we run them and the reason I love it so much is because they have exponential returns, okay? So with ads, right, we know it's going to be very volatile. I think ads are great because obviously it's infinitely scalable, but realistically, like what can happen is you essentially go, you really run up a bag, right? It goes shit first month, then you have an awesome month. Next month, you kind of start from scratch again. It's still decent. Then you have a shitting month, then a good one, then it goes down. It's very like, it's a roller coaster. And like, it can very much go all the way down to here, right? Because shit just breaks. The great thing about shoutouts is it's very like, it's a bit slower. The initial buildup is slower, but then you have very solid levels. So for example, as you can see here, like, and this is pretty much from a client of ours, he never really dips below like any levels, right? As he grows, the baseline just grows. Client of ours that we've worked with, he's made $20 million working with us since we first started. Since he's crossed 300K in monthly sales, I don't think he's ever, except for 1 or 2 months, dipped below that month. So essentially, like, even though we had months where we did like $1 million, he never ever dipped below 300K. And it's like a very healthy baseline to have, given you're pulling a 40x ROAS. So realistically, like, that's one thing to understand is like, because you grow the audience, right? So like here, he might have had like 1K, and like here he has like, let's say 100K, right? Because the audience is growing as an asset. People that follow you here in month 2, they might not convert here, but they might convert here. So you have like this lag of people from different months who have longer sales cycles actually converted. So it's like very stacked. And because you only pay for them to be a follower, you don't really pay more than anything else. So that's really why I love it. Now, last but not least, I want to show you how the shoutout strategy actually works, right? So to give you some context, like this is Jeremy Miner. We had the pleasure of working with him for the better part of 2 years. He's been one of our most successful clients, fucking killer. And I want to walk you through strategy. Again, he has a 1.1 million followers now. We stopped working with him at about 660. Realistically, the content strategy was super simple. Jeremy was the type of person that was really well known in the sales industry. And we were like, cool, let's figure out how we can actually make him pop. So we're like, okay, number 1, we'll post reels. All reels were super tactical, very much give me advice, walk me through sales stuff, right? Number 2, we're like, cool, let's post tweets, right? Like just short little advice, stuff that you can learn something out of, or like, just reframes how to think about sales. And the number 3 is carousels, where we're like, let's break down Jeremy's advice. Let's do objection handling tutorials. Like really just everything was tactically based. And then here eventually we would throw in some like story of like how he went from A to B, or how students managed to get a transformation. And that was really the strategy. What we did then, and just to show you very tactically, shoutouts, like we would do a, thread as an example. This would be an example as a thread. And then from there, we would do the last slide, boom, follow me, and, let me know for more. Or we would do like videos, just reels that performed really well. Jeremy did an awesome job, and they cut out like 2-3 reels a day and just spam those. If we saw one did really well, we would pair it with like one of those big sliders. And then from there, we would realistically just rip it, right? And then last but not least, obviously that would grow the audience. That would give us reason to grow the audience. And we would do lead gen, just either having CTAs at the end of a thread or doing like little 2 steps inside of the story. And this worked extremely well, right? We spent upwards of about 20 to 25,000 per month on shoutouts, if I remember this correctly. And the ROAS was extremely well. I mean, I showed it to you at the beginning of the month. And so you can kind of run the numbers on it. It's extremely lucrative acquisition channel. And so, yeah, pretty much like as a reel, like that's the whole rundown of like how shoutouts work. There's obviously a bunch of nuances, but I don't want to bore you with all the tacticals. Like, I just want to show you like this is really like, to me, one of the best strategies you can use organically, especially because again, you grow an asset, which is your personal brand, for pennies on the dollar, which gives you compounding sort of like, results and returns over time. And on top of that, is still extremely undersaturated. It's difficult, more difficult than it was like 3-4 years ago, but it's still so undersaturated because most people, they come in, they don't figure it out within a month or two because their content sucks, right? And then at the end of the day, they just give up. The point I'm trying to make here is if you can crack content, right? Which is like probably the most important skill to have in 2026, whether you're running ads, whether you're doing other stuff, if you can crack content, you can always amplify it, which makes shoutouts a very timeless strategy. You know, a lot of people that come to us and work with us in a consulting realm, right? Basically, we help them install this very funnel in more details, right? And really like kind of figure out like how to post content, how to ideate content, like how to figure stuff out. And really from there, kind of take it and kind of run with it. Because again, this is an underrated marketing channel. It has high returns. And it's something that most people don't know about or didn't know how to figure out. If you are curious, you want to work with us, either in an agency capacity or a consulting realm where, you know, we just help you install this thing internally and kind of coach and consult you on how to properly make this shit work, feel free to message me on Instagram and we'll see if we're fit. We're only right now taking 5 people on every single month to work with, just because for us, results are everything. Again, made over 100 million. We've never worked with more than 10 to 12 people in our agency capacity. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this video, I know I just rambled on about stuff, but I just really try to unload as much as, you know, as I can about shoutouts and how they kind of work. If you got any value out of it, please like, subscribe, you know, let me know in the comments what else you would like to see. And, you know, I'll see you in the next video.